Hey everybody, Tom Siga from Duluth Pack, and this is the Duluth Pack podcast, Leader of the Pack. And our special guest today is a good friend of mine, and he is a true leader in an industry that I'm very passionate about. It is Jason Nash, Vice President of Marketing for Federal Ammunition, Remington Ammunition, heavy shot ammunition, CCI ammunition, and Spear brands of ammunition. Holy moly, that's a mouthful. Jason, welcome.
Thank you, Tom. It's great to be here. Appreciate you having me.
How the heck do you keep all that straight?
Well, we've got, just like you, because I've met them, we have a really good team of people who's able to they're able to focus on those brands individually and really make them sing.
Yeah, that's so fun, and the industry for our listeners that um, are going, oh, I'm not interested in the ammunition industry. Hang on, folks, because you know what? Our good old military buys a lot of ammunition from these guys, and I want to get into that in a little while. And and our military is why we all get to do what we do every day. So these guys are huge supporters of our military and our high schools, and we'll talk about all that as well. So, Jason, we want to do is let's go back because you've made it to a very prominent role in the largest, I believe, ammunition manufacturer for sure in the United States of America, but maybe the world.
Yep, we're definitely up there, and it's been a privilege to work for the company.
So before we go there, I want to, for people who are thinking, how does somebody get in a role like yours? A big shot like you, Jason. Holy cow. But let's go back and talk about where'd you grow up and what was it like when you grew up and what did you do for fun as a kid?
Well, I grew up in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I was kind of a city boy, and really enjoyed sports. I've always loved the outdoors and fishing and camping. And as I got older, I got more involved in hunting. So as one of my favorite hobbies, I went to school at UMD in Duluth, Minnesota Duluth, and grouse trails are not too far away from there, and that really got my attention and held my interest in my extra time. So some friends of mine and I did a lot of different hunting, bear hunting, but we'd always go back to that grouse hunting experience and walking in the woods and telling stories and having a great time. So that was my passion, was hunting and spending time in the outdoors. I also wrestled at Duluth for a couple of years in college. So when I did finish my wrestling career, I definitely went full bore into hunting.
That's really cool. And so people know where, St. Paul, Minnesota, so many people know about that, Jason, but Duluth is about 150 miles north of there, where Duluth Pack, actually where we're located, and you just happen to come here for your education at UMD from 95 to 97. And at UMD, Jason, what did you major in? And did you have something like, hey, here's what I want to go do when I'm done?
I actually didn't, Tom. My parents were both PhDs and they were in education, and uh, they I was kind of worried that I didn't have a specific, topic or major that I wanted to choose. And they always told me, you know what, just get a degree, get the piece of paper, and then you'll determine later what you want to do. And most of the time people do something different than what it says on their degree. But in my case, I got a communications degree with a minor in philosophy, and I do communications, and I have my entire career in some form and fashion. So it just kind of worked that way for me, where my degree really translated well into what I wanted to do.
And then you went back to school in the middle part of your career here to what a lot of us would call the Harvard of the Midwest, the Carlson School of Management at the University of Minnesota. Was that something through work or a personal passion of yours? And what was your focus when you went to Carlson?
When you come from a family of PhD parents and a PhD grandfather, you feel a little inadequate with one degree. So I thought, geez, maybe I ought to get one more Uh, I definitely wasn't going to get a PhD, but no, really, I thought I had some friends and colleagues and mentors in the industry and at the company I've been at that really encouraged me to go back. And having a communications degree is great, but you also don't get the business background that you need. So I did the MBA program at Carlson, and it really taught me a lot of what I hadn't picked up with my undergraduate degree, which was finance, accounting, more of the strategic business side of it. So that was really a great experience for me. It was tough. My third child was due right when I started school. So it was a lot to juggle, but I'm really happy I did it. And the company and my family supported me and turned out to be a really good opportunity for me.
Were you able to do a lot of that at night school or distant school because you obviously had a job?
Yeah, it was a different program that was a Friday and Saturday. Um, so you every other week you go Friday, Saturday down to the school and have very focused coursework. And then I basically just cut out all my TV watching in the evenings and I put the kids to bed, and instead of watching a show to unwind, I would read, study, do homework.
No hunting shows for a couple of years.
Now I had to take a little break, but I picked up right where I left off.
And folks, this guy went on an epic trip just the last, well, I don't know, 6 weeks ago. And so you better hang on because we're going to talk later about an trip of a lifetime, talk about hunting a little bit. You're in the ammunition industry, but a trip of a lifetime that Jason went on. So we're gonna dangle that carrot in front of you. You need to hang around for a while. So you graduate with your undergraduate, Jason. And and not 20, back in 1999, you started a role as assistant account executive at Words at Work. What's that all about?
Yeah, so I really started out in three different small marketing communication agencies. And Minneapolis has got a lot of small agencies that work on big clients, a piece of a big client. 3M is one, General Mills. There are several of those big manufacturers that have done, they've got multiple agencies that they work with. And Words at Work was as you can imagine from the title, a very writing specific company that was doing annual reports and marketing materials for several different brands. Linear Copiers was one of them. So and Capella University, which was at the time one of the first online universities. So I spent a lot of time, 3.5 years there working on a variety of different clients and really learned the account executive side of taking care of a client, following deadlines, understanding schedules and costs related to projects. And it was a good experience, fun environment.
Were you doing selling for your company to get these clients, or were you actually, once this was a client, you were working on the details of here's what they are expecting out of us, here's what they need out of us?
Yeah, earlier in my career, I wasn't out getting the business. I was managing it once it was in house. So it was another company, not the most glamorous work, but Data Card was one of our clients that did badge printers for companies. So very important work that kind of falls to the background. But our job was to make it interesting and really sell people on their products and services. And it was a good experience.
What kind of things do you learn there? Because you know that you just hit on something there that maybe a data card or a badge isn't real fun, if you will, like making bullets, right? Um, but yet your job is to make sure that it's important and that it is fun. How do you do something like that? How do you process that?
It's all about understanding your audience, number one. That I learned a lot at these products that weren't quite as fun to deal with as ammunition or packs and all the great stuff that your store carries. You really learn the value of boiling it down to the gist of what people need to know to make their purchase decision. So that was a very valuable lesson.
And then it 2002, you transitioned companies to become public relations account executive and copywriter at Trip Agency, another agency.
Mhm.
How was this different from Words at Work?
Well, there was a year that, 2001 hit 9/11, and that after that, a lot of businesses had to downsize, and the agency Words at Work had to downsize. I was let go as part of a couple clients going away, and they've since come back and they're still around, a very healthy business. But I was out of work, and at the perfect time, October, with a small severance package, and I had a 2-year-old English setter. So you know where I went.
Maybe those trails in northern Minnesota that you were talking about where the grouse love to live.
Yeah, I drove my Ford Bronco up there every other day and hunted for grouse. And then I realized that gas was getting expensive. So I had a friend of mine reach out, and he was a writer who worked for Words at Work, and actually works for Cornell University now in their ornithology department. And he referred me to a position at Trip Agency because they were working on federal as a client. So they hired me to work on the business because they knew I had that agency skill set and background, but I also had a passion for hunting.
And what did you do there?
There I was only there for 7 months, and it was just managing the business of the account. And we put together new product packages and news releases that we would send out to writers and key contacts to make sure that they had the information they needed to write about Federal's new products. So I spent a very short time there, and then I was fortunate enough to have Federal reach out and say that they wanted to hire me on full time directly for them. And I have not looked back in 21 years.
Isn't that crazy? So in 2003, we're moving along quickly here. You move on to what was known as ATK back then in public relations, communications, and event manager, director of marketing, communications, and then brand integration. So let's walk through each one of those individually because that's a mouthful. So ATK was the parent company of Federal Ammunition at the time, and you come in. What was your first role, and then how did these subsequent roles then come for you, Jason?
Well, it made my friends a little bit chapped, but my job was, as the PR guy, to work with industry writers, Guns and Ammo Magazine, Peterson's Hunting, Outdoor Life, Field and Stream, to get our new products in their hands, and also to take them out on field events, which included some hunts. Which,
Horrible.
yeah, it was a pretty unique opportunity, and I got a chance to see a lot of great places in the world, and hunt with some really fantastic people and show off our products and get positive coverage for them. So that was my job right out of the gate here. And in addition to writing copy, doing news releases, there was a lot of office work also, but that we did get to take writers out on shoots and hunts to make sure that they were familiar with our products and knew how they worked in the field.
You love to upland game hunt. I know that of you. What was your favorite in that role hunt that you were able to go on with writers that you can remember? One that just really sticks out for you, Jason.
Well, I got a chance to go out to Utah and hunt blue grouse. And actually, it was a fall turkey hunt, and actually it wasn't in Utah; it was in Washington State. We went and hunted fall turkey, and then we got a chance to hunt rough grouse and blue grouse all in the same swoop. And it was just really pretty country that I wasn't used to, being a guy from, the swampland in Minnesota. So it was to have those big rolling hills and, big vantage points. It was really just it was more the territory and the ability to hunt multiple species that I thought was so interesting.
I'm assuming at that, you're a pretty young guy at the time. You have a role where you're traveling, you're with writers, you're getting paid to go on hunting trips. there was a lot of people, it's like, what the heck? I mean, all you do is travel around and hunt. Obviously, it was a difficult role because you are accountable to a lot of things at that time to make sure that your brand is getting in front of these. What are some of those successes you see when and industry contacts you made that you've probably kept for years and years since?
Yeah, I mean that this industry more than any is about relationships, and thankfully it's a really good group of people that you meet. People that I went out on trips with 21 years ago, I still connect with today. John Snow from Outdoor Life and I just talked the other day. He and I spent a lot of time together and remain in contact. He continues to support our brands and products when we have something new to talk about. And yeah, it's just been you learn a lot from those people too. A lot of different personalities, a lot of big personalities, and great information that you can glean from everybody that helps you in not only your specific role, but in life in general.
And then, Jason, and I don't know if these are in the correct order, but communications and events manager. So was that part of the PR role, or was that a role in addition subsequent after that?
Yeah, I was fortunate to be able to grow with the company. When they brought me on, ATK, which was known for making the booster rockets for the Challenger, and they're an aerospace and defense company. They have PhDs on staff, scientists that they were rocket scientists. It was pretty cool to have some contact with them, and so we had a lot of great opportunity as the business grew. I was able to grow with it. So, my supervisors at the time saw that I was interested in doing more and working hard at what I did and having some success, thankfully. So they gave me some additional responsibilities, and events were one of the things that we built. Since I've been here, we've built 3 different new SHOT Show booths, and SHOT Show is one of the biggest shows that our industry goes to. And so a lot of opportunity to learn there, the ins and outs of events management.
And then director of marketing and communications. So what all departments, first of all, fall underneath that? Because that's a big role in a huge company like yours.
Yeah, it really, ATK had its own corporate communications staff, and I represented the ammunition and accessories business side. So there was some internal communications, CEO memos, president memos, um, quarterly updates that would come out, that we would do some internal copywriting for, internal newsletters that we would build. We also had like dealer journal, we called it, where we would write copy and design for our customers to make sure that they knew what we were up to and new products that were coming out. So yeah, it is a big company, or it was a big company as ATK, but our division was relatively small within them. So we had an opportunity to wear a lot of different hats and get our hands on different projects and parts of the department. But all that always lived under marketing.
In that role, how important were brand standards to your brand, Federal Ammunition, at the time? Because I know that a lot of the people listening to this, Jason, might say, "What the heck is a brand standard?" But in industry, it's pretty important. And how did that fold into what you were doing?
Yeah, it's really important, especially when, in our case, at the time we didn't own Remington and Heavy Shot, but we did have CCI, Spear, and Federal. All were ammunition brands that needed to have their own personality and their own look and feel, so that they didn't look like it was all one company, because they are indeed separate facilities that have their own personality and culture. So we had to make sure to bring that out in the advertising. So the brand standards really help us define what each of those brands stand for, their look, their feel, their voice. And so we've done a pretty good job, I would say, as a team, of creating those standards and sticking to them to make sure that each brand has its own voice. We also had Blackhawk accessories, tactical accessories, Champion, Shooter's Ridge, RCBS. We had all these other brands, Alliant Powder, which we still have, that we created materials for. So we had to make sure that even though one team was responsible for the marketing for it, that they all had their own unique personality, look, and feel.
Jason, when you were in marketing and you alluded to this trade show, so folks, to give you an idea of how big the SHOT Show is, which is a huge industry trade show, which I've been lucky enough to go to for the last 15, 20 years. There's over 3,000 booths at this trade show. Before they expanded it now from what was the Sands Convention Center to now the Venetian Convention Center, and now over to Caesars Convention Center. Before they expanded, if you walked every aisle, north, south, east, and west, they said you will have walked 22 miles. And I know we can both attest to that, but to give you the size of this, my question with that, with all of those brands that you just mentioned that were underneath your responsibilities and accountabilities, how busy did you get the last couple of months before SHOT Show for all the brand standards and all the promotional and marketing tools and information that's needed going into the holy grail of trade shows in your industry?
Yeah, Tom, you know, like running up to the SHOT Show, new products are typically released around that time frame. Our catalogs print around that time frame. So thankfully that the team that I work with has gotten really good about schedules and timing for those materials. But there were definitely some years where, we were going to press checks on Christmas Eve for the catalogs to make sure they were looking correctly and printed on time for the SHOT Show. We've had a lot of last minute preparation in displays, graphics. We've had mistakes that we've had to fix, and that happens, and it's always really stressful at the time. But thankfully, we're able to adjust and make it work. But yeah, especially when we built a new booth and we were putting it together for the first time, we actually had a booth years ago that had 2 levels. It had its own fire suppression system. It was so big. So it took a lot of work, and we have a great partner. Freeman is the company that we work with that puts together our booth for us and does show services. So they helped us design it and put it together, but it was a behemoth.
Do you remember? So I've been in your booth many, many times. Do you know how many square feet that booth is? Do you recall?
Right now we're at a 70 by 100 boot
Okay.
footprint. So pretty good size.
Wow. And I mean, and there's not a lot of wasted space in it because you're showcasing all of your products at that trade show. So then in 2014, ATK sells, and if you can explain this to us, how all of this went down, but they sell part of their business to Vista Outdoor brand. Which parts of it did they sell? And then how was that transition to Vista and your role?
Yeah, it was actually an interesting case study because it was ATK at the time was spun off all of its consumer brands. So it took the aerospace and defense, our CEO at the time, Mark DeYoung, spun off Vista, which was everything commercial, all the ammunition brands, all the accessories brands. They purchased Bushnell Optics and Primos and all the companies that came with that company. And so they spun that off to its own independently traded company and then merged ATK with a company called Orbital.
Okay.
And then ATK Orbital eventually was then purchased by Northrop Grumman. And then Vista Outdoor has stayed its own independently traded public company since then.
And so Vista has, if I remember correctly, Vista has 43 or 46 individual companies under it. Your responsibilities are in the ammunition part of it, which would include federal, in the last few years, Remington ammunition, heavy shot ammunition, Spears, CCI. I believe I named them all.
You did, yep.
Okay.
We got estate cartridges in our portfolio and also Alliant powder, but our five big core brands are the ones you named. Yep.
Can you tell our listeners where all of, because these are all American manufacturing, which, yes,
Yep.
American, employing Americans, it's not just a distribution center where you import things. You actually make all of these products here, which I am so supportive of. Can you tell our listeners where all of your plants are, so that they understand that you're employing a lot of Americans in a lot of different parts of this country, which is just so important.
Yeah, we have nearly 4,000 employees here in the US across four factories. So in Anoka, Minnesota, which is where I'm sitting today, we have about 1,500 employees and building federal ammunition and all the different varieties that we make here. Then we have Lewiston, Idaho, that builds CCI rimfire ammunition, Spear law enforcement, gold dot product for handgun, and then also component bullets under Spear. And then Remington, which joined our family, I think 4 years ago now, is in Lone Oak, Arkansas, and they build Remington ammunition there. There are about 800 people there who work there. Lewiston's got about 1,200. And then there's a small company called Heavy Shot with a big brand, one of our strongest brands out in Sweet Home, Oregon. And that's a real small group of hardworking people. And they actually make their own bismuth and tungsten based shot right there in Sweet Home, Oregon.
And part of that was that acquisition, if I remember correctly, had to do with the getting into the non-ferrous market for shot for the upland game, but more specifically the waterfowl hunters.
Yeah, that was part of it. I mean, obviously they're a leader in technology in tungsten shot and bismuth. So having them as part of our portfolio gave us an opportunity to have a US produced shot that we could also put into our other products, which we've done and called that out. We've said, Remington has heavy bismuth in their bismuth products and Federal the same. So it was not only a great opportunity to get that capability, but also the Heavy Shot brand for the size of the business. It's a really big brand. They've got a huge following. Their Facebook and Instagram followers are many in numbers, and it's been really an influential brand with some really fun marketing behind it.
Speaking of that, since you're in marketing and social media is so big now, can you tell our listeners some of the different social handles so they can start following you? And I know it's a mouthful here, but can you let them know some of the main social channels that they can follow your companies at?
Yeah, if you go to any of the brand sites, you'll find the little icons at the bottom, but we're at Federal Premium for Federal, and we're at Remington 1816 for Remington Instagram, and Facebook as well. And then CCI is, I'll have to look that one up. That's why I think it's CCI-ammunition for the website, and then I think we might have CCI leader for our Instagram handle.
Okay.
And then Spear's got a small following too, and Spear's really our law enforcement brand. That's the choice of many big agencies in the nation.
And then Heavy Shot.
And Heavy Shot. Just look it up.
At Heavy Shot.
Yep.
Perfect. Folks, our special guest today is Jason Nash, who is the Vice President of Marketing for Federal, Remington, Heavy Shot, CCI, and Spear brands, a mouthful, and a really good friend of mine. Well, you guys have been through some transition because you have all these, and you've acquired Heavy Shot, and you've acquired Remington 4 years ago, as you mentioned. But there's these other Vista partners out there. Can you talk a little bit to that and how such a behemoth of a company, you're more focused on the ammunition side, but yet you're partners with all these outdoor brands. How does that communication work and how do you keep it all straight?
Yeah, those of us who started here in the ATK days and then with the Vista spinoff have always been really good at working across the aisle. I mean, we partner, we've done marketing for them, some of the accessories brands, and then when my boss Jason Vanderbrink took over, that's really when we split apart the ammunition business internally to have a group that was just focused on doing ammunition. And it's really made a difference. We could go much deeper and be more expert in that specific field than trying to, market and sell for everybody. And so that's been a really big advantage for us to have a team solely focused on the ammunition brands. But,
How
working with the others, Tom, like you asked, is, we have some catch-up meetings, where we'll share ideas, especially on the web side. We've got a leader forum where we'll get together and talk about what's working well for the other side and other brands. And we've got some really big brands that are, I mean, Camp Chef, cooked on my Camp Chef at home 2 nights ago. Love that. Flat Top Grill. Sims used their waders and boot system on the hunt that you mentioned. And we've just got a Fox makes great clothing, workout gear, and it's been fun to be part of these brands that are so well known and have great products.
and they're not all around the shooting sports either. So there's a lot of
Right.
tertiary brands that are outdoor brands, very outdoor. I actually made a big old brisket on my Camp Chef pellet stove 2 weeks ago, and 14 hours of love going into that.
Oh, it sounds delicious. Good thing we just ate lunch.
Yeah, exactly. What are some of the biggest challenges you see specifically since 2020? Every business has changed since 2020. This whole country has. Nobody hasn't been affected by what happened in 2020. What have been some of your most difficult challenges that you've had to go through and changes you've had to make in your role for all of your staff?
Yeah, I think, for every business, COVID came and changed the culture, the office culture for sure. I think people realized that they could do work more remotely. And so we still have some people who are in hybrid positions, but being a manufacturing facility like we are, we like to have people here because that's where the culture is. You can't truly be connected to the product and the brand if you're not near the product and understand how it's made, where it's made, and who makes it. So I think that was one of the challenges, was navigating through the remote work and which positions can sit in the office versus somewhere else. And so that's something that every business is kind of trying to navigate right now. But I think we've come to a really good balance. And then, during COVID, there was a big rush of demand for our products. So we had to really ramp up and try to make sure our product was getting out on the shelves. There were some rumors flying around about where it was going, and they were completely false. And we were doing everything we could to make as much ammo for the consumer base as we could. So it was really kind of, office culture, supply, and then at the same time navigating the challenges we have as a restricted category on advertising on social media and not getting flagged for our posts because someone deems them inappropriate. So it's kind of a balance that we strike.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I don't think most people understand from we talked about social handles a minute ago, Jason, but how restricted you are. And you and I had a conversation this spring about this when we were lucky enough to come and tour your facility and spend some time with all your awesome folks. And how restricted you are versus a simple little company making canvas bags. We can put out all kinds of things and we're not overly restricted. unless we put out a gun case, right? Which we make gun cases, and then all of a sudden we feel the restrictions. But you are very restricted on what you can say, what you can post, all of this stuff. Can you explain to the listeners how and why and how much you are restricted on what you can actually do socially and selling wise?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, we can post about our products, we can post about our people, we can post about hunts, but there's certain things that will get flagged if something is, like kill shots sometimes are deemed inappropriate. So, we can get flagged for those. We also are not able to sponsor content, so we can't, as an ammunition brand, run an ad on Facebook or any of those meta platforms. Whereas, Duluth Pack, I get the ads and I love them, by the way. I look at every one, but we're restricted from doing that. So really it makes us focus more on the content and organic growth than paying for clicks and advertising. So in a lot of ways, it means we've got a much more qualified audience than we would have possibly if we were selling hard. But so the people who opt in to follow us are definitely interested in our content and tend to stick longer because we've acquired them just through word of mouth and just organic channels.
You had mentioned that back in 2020, 2021, there was a lot of hype going around, a lot of nonsense, if you will, on people saying that, you're filling warehouses and you're not shipping things so you can drive cost, the price of ammunition up when people were trying to get it and people were hoarding and everything. And Jason Vanderbrink, the CEO of the company, um, in a marketing piece, I guess I would say, answered that in a rather stern way, which I personally loved and thought was awesome. Can you explain some of the thoughts going in there? Because that could have either been a really positive thing, as it turned out, but there was a risk of it being negative too and taken negative.
Yeah, and some people didn't like the message, but for the most part, people understood. I mean, at some point, when there's enough misinformation out there, you have to address it. And, Jason did a really fantastic job of clearly stating why we we were having a shortage of ammunition supply. And, no business wants to cut off its lifeblood, the people who buy the products, we want nothing more than people to be able to find our product and use it. And so I think it was the right message at the right time. And that video got more than 2 million views. And it was a great answer to, the questions that people had.
American manufacturing, I know you're in your office right now. We're doing this over Zoom. And so you're in Anoka, Minnesota in the factory right now. Tell us, as listeners, the importance of that Americana, that we are making all of these brands in America.
There's a huge source of pride for us being the manufacturer and having our people come here every day to live in the community. And I think it's allowed all of our factories to really make a connection with the communities they're in. We don't just come and work here. We dine there. We bring our families to events and watch sporting events and get our hair cut in town. It's just it's really creates this great connection with the community, and people recognize that. They appreciate that, having the factory here is providing jobs for the community and money and having a brand like Federal, Remington, CCI, Spear that people know, trust, and use use in their spare time for fun. Competitive shooting, hunting, it really makes a great connection with the community that we're proud of.
Jason, can we talk a little bit about, you talk about community connections, and one of the notes I have here is, at least, and I know this from the state of Minnesota where we both live, the fastest growing high school sport in this state is competitive trap shooting for your high school league. And Federal is the premier, the sponsor and advocate and waving the safety flag above and beyond all of that. Can you talk how you got involved from a marketing standpoint to become the go-to in trap and skeet and sporting clays, but specifically with these high schools?
Yeah, we've always had a really good connection with the coaches who teach the trap leagues at the school. So we offer a program where we will we sell them ammunition and allow them to train with our products. And uh, it's actually the shoot's going on right now in Alexandria, June 10th through the 18th, as we sit here. It's happening, and 8,000 high school students will go through and shoot, including a lot of sons and daughters of people who work here. So it's really great to see that our sport has got such interest at that level. And, that's the future for us. We need to keep people going out and shooting, using the products and enjoying the outdoors. And we're also proud that hopefully the progression goes from high school to the woods to the competitive fields. We've got some Olympic shooters right now, 4 of whom are going to go to Paris in a short while here to compete for medals. So it's really fun to see the progression of kids starting in high school, shooting trap on the team, gaining confidence. It's one of the most inclusive sports that there is. You don't, it's kind of, I was a wrestler, and I always thought it was great to have weight divisions. Well, shooting is even more of an equalizer where anybody can pick up a gun and practice and be safe and have success.
I love it because you look at the people that weren't athletic like you and couldn't be a wrestler, a football player, a hockey player, a baseball player. The the student that's very small, let's say, is on an equal footing with the best athlete out there and can be a much better shooter for their school and their team than maybe Joe athlete. And this is another sport. So it's another athletic sport. So it's pretty cool and pretty neat to see that the word you use is that equalizer. Jason, can you talk a little bit about the promotion on gun safety, field safety, and everything that goes into the shooting sports and the safety that you market, that you promote at your company, because it's a forefront of everything you do?
Yeah, just like being involved with the high school, shooting coaches, we've always preached safety. It's been part of our DNA from the beginning of the company. We've got some pretty unique old cartoons that help teach gun safety. We've partnered with the Hunters Education across the state with the NRA to make sure that they have the materials that they need to safely teach people about how to properly use firearms and ammunition. And it's resulted in one of the safest activities you can do, and we're proud of that. It's, making sure that people go through the proper training. I've got 3 daughters. All 3 of them have gone through firearm safety. I went through it with them every time, just, by nature of my job, I wanted to be involved and see how the programs were going. And it was, so I know it back and forth, but it's a great program. It gives them hands-on experience. It teaches them the basics, and it really sets them on the right path to make sure that they have a successful, safe experience.
Jason, recently Duluth Pack was extremely fortunate to partner with you and your team and your company, Federal, on the Home on the Range collection. And can you tell our listeners a little bit about that and what that's all about?
Yeah, I mean, talk about a source of pride. I'm biased personally because I'm from Minnesota and I went to school in Duluth, but I've always enjoyed your products, and to be able to partner with another storied American manufacturing right here in Minnesota brand, It was just fantastic. And to bring out products that you make specifically for hunters and customize them with a federal brand and have some unique t-shirts and some other gear was just really a fun project. We appreciate it and really value the partnership.
Listeners, go to Federal's website, look at the Home on the Range collection. It was very fun. It's 144, excuse me, 244 years of not only American made between these two companies, but Minnesota made between these two companies. So it's been an absolute blast and honor to work with you and your team. You guys are on a scale that we could never dream to be on, and to work with a team like yours was a treasure for us. And folks, please support the Home on the Range collection. Go to Federal Ammunition and look at it. I'm doing a little bit of sales here. I'm not supposed to be doing that, and I'm going to get in trouble if I keep doing that. But go look at that. What makes Federal, Jason, different from your competitors?
Well, Federal in particular started the premium line under our brand. We've got Federal Premium. Back in 1977, the company decided, you know what? We're a cartridge company. We're really good at loading products. So we're going to take what hand loaders are doing in their basements and their garages. We're going to find the best projectiles that are out there, and we're going to factory load them so that you get the same kind of accuracy and performance you would expect from your own personal hand loads. We were the first company to really do that and kind of put aside pride and say, you know what? We're going to take somebody else's bullet because they make that the best they can, and we're going to load that in our product and create the best of both worlds, the best projectile you can find in the best factory load. So that really set Federal apart, and that's continued in the personal defense category with some of our products. It's also continued on to Black Cloud for waterfowl hunting and prairie storm. So we've had some unique components and solutions that have really been visible differences that people can experience and really appreciate.
So you're certainly not sitting on your laurels. You're continuing to push R&D and getting better every day.
Yeah, we've got a great staff of engineers and product development and marketing here, and they all put their heads together and come up with some pretty creative solutions that, and in fact, I just got out of a meeting now where they're talking about another one that'll be coming. So keep your eyes open.
Well, after we stop the recording, I might have to pick your brain here. So, Jason, we're going to switch gears here a little bit. I cannot believe that we're coming up against our time frame, but this is just so interesting on what you get to do for a living working for these ammunition companies. Folks, our special guest today is Jason Nash, Vice President of Marketing for Federal, Remington, Heavy Shot, CCI, Spear Brands, and some others that he has noted here. But we're going to go on to our packed questions segment. But I'm going to do this one a little bit different because you just got back from trip of a lifetime. Can you tell our listeners, and folks, yes, he hunts. He works in the ammunition industry. Where were you and what did you hunt and how did you do?
Yeah, I had the great fortune of going to Alaska and hunting brown bear, coastal brown bear, off of a boat with a writer contact of ours from the NRA. He's going to write up a story in American Hunter on the adventure, and so that'll be published, I would hope, in several months here, so everybody can read about the trip and his experience, and maybe I'll make the pictures too. We'll see. But yeah, it's a gorgeous place. It rained, because that's what it does in Alaska, especially in the spring. And, it's just an incredible territory. And we were lucky enough to find a couple of big brown bears that we were able to shoot successfully. And, we're both going to get rugs made. And it's just an adventure of a lifetime up there.
Folks, I'm looking at the picture that he actually sent me while he was still in Alaska. He texted it to me. And those claws, those paws, make your head look really, really small, Jason.
There's a little bit of camera trickery, but not a lot. It's an 8.5 foot bear, so it's a lot of animal.
Oh my goodness. Can you tell us about it? What caliber did you shoot? What ammunition did you please tell me it's one of your brands of ammunition that
Oh,
you shot?
absolutely. Absolutely. And in fact, I went in ready for a couple different scenarios. I had a 375 with our Swift A-frame product in Federal Premium, and then we had a 300 Remington Ultra Mag with the Scirocco Spear Bullet, which is under our Premier Remington line. So we had a couple different options because in the spring, it's a spot and stock situation where you could end up getting a little bit longer shot. And so the 375 was for if it was going to be up close, and I ended up having to take a shot at 320, and the 300 Remington Ultra Mag was just the right cartridge for that.
Tell us about your heart rate uh, as you're coming up on some of these bears and as you're ready to let rip.
Yeah, a lot goes through your mind, when you're approaching this apex predator that's way bigger, way stronger, way faster. And the key is you've got to work the wind. They won't even know you're there if you play the wind right because their eyes are not that great at a long distance. Their ears are not fantastic. It's really that nose that tips them off that you're there. And in that area, they don't see a ton of people. So it's not like you hear some of the problem that people in Montana and some of the national parks have with grizzlies that get really comfortable around people. They've got plenty of food. They've got great habitat. They're not really interested in you, unless, of course, you get in their way or injure them, which is, thankfully we both had clean shots and were able to finish them out.
Well, first of all, congratulations, because that is an absolute giant of the apex predators and a beast, and what a experience, story, memories that you made, which is so much around no matter what we do in your industry, right? The shooting sports is all about making memories.
Absolutely. And John Draper's the writer who was with me. He spins a great tale, so he's gonna write a great article about the trip. And I wouldn't have been a true Minnesotan if I wouldn't have finished the trip with a cannonball off the top of the boat into the Arctic waters.
Did you really?
I did.
So you did the polar plunge.
I did. I did. I talked to a young guide out of New Mexico to come with me on the boat, and he definitely had not felt water that cold before, but he made it.
That's awesome. Well, you know what? If your heartbeat wasn't up high enough once, you got it up high enough again.
Exactly. Exactly. Just felt like reason to celebrate.
Jason, one other question I have is I have a lot of them that I go through and whatnot with people on the pack question segment, but you've been able to travel the world in business. Where's a favorite place that you've ever been?
I've been to Spain. Spain is a pretty incredible country.
What
And
less that from Spain left the lasting in memory on you?
oh, it's the pace over there. They take longer lunch periods. Like here today before this call, I jammed a sandwich down my throat before we got on the call. Over there, you take some time and you sit down and have a conversation with people, and they have a different schedule in the day. And I know a little bit of Spanish, so it was fun to be able to speak in a different country in their language. And it's just really pretty country. It's a lot more mountainous than I would have thought, just reading about it or preparing for the trip.
And with your blonde hair, most people realize right away that you are not a native.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
And my severe sunburn doesn't
yeah, there
help.
you go. Yeah, because it's a little warm there, isn't it, for us northern Minnesota guys? So, folks, today our very special guest is Jason Nash, Vice President of Marketing for Federal Remington Heavy Shot, CCI, and Spear brands. Jason, we can't thank you enough. I cannot believe an hour has gone by already. This has been a blast. Thanks so much for taking your valuable time to be with us. And and to let our listeners know a little bit about your life and what goes into your world every day.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to share our story. And, just like working with Duluth Pack and your team, Tom, has been a true pleasure. You've got a great group of professionals. They're very talented, and it's a great product. And, I think fortunate to work with great people here. And when they get together, the Home on the Range collection is born, and that's been a lot of fun.
Perfect. Jason, thanks so much. And folks, until next time, unplug from the indoors and recharge in the outdoors.